All right, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about aging today, but not in the way you're used to. We're looking at it through this really incredible evolutionary lens. The topic? Thriving past 90. It's time to forget everything you think you know about getting older because it turns out science has a much more hopeful and way more powerful story to tell.
You know, most of us have this idea, just baked into our heads, that after age 60, it's pretty much all downhill. We expect to lose muscle, for our bones to get weaker, for our minds to slow down. We kind of just planned for it. But this quote right here, it gets to the very heart of what we're digging into. Because evolutionary science, it paints a completely different picture.
Okay, so let's get to the first big idea. That slow, steady decline that we all associate with aging, it is not inevitable. No way. In fact, your own biology has what you could call an evolutionary mandate for a long, strong, and totally functional life.
So you might be asking, what's the why behind this? Why would we be built to last? Well, it comes down to this really beautiful idea called the grandmother hypothesis. For a long time, scientists were stumped, why do humans live for decades after we can no longer reproduce? And the answer is, because experienced elders were absolutely essential for the group's survival. They were living, breathing libraries of knowledge. You know, where to find water during a drought, which plants could be used as medicine, how to handle conflicts. Their survival was literally the key to the whole group's survival.
So, let this really sink in. Your body was never ever meant to just fall apart at 65. Our biology, shaped by these incredibly powerful evolutionary forces, was quite literally designed to keep us strong, functional, and sharp well into our 90s. That potential isn't something you have to find. It's already built right into your DNA.
Okay, so if we're designed for this amazing longevity, what's going wrong, right? Why do so many of us start to decline so much earlier? The answer? The real culprit in our story is something called an environmental mismatch. And that brings us to the absolute core concept of this whole thing, evolutionary mismatch. Think of it like this. We are all running ancient Stone Age hardware on modern Space Age software. Our biology is this system that was perfected over thousands and thousands of years for a very different world. The problem isn't our bodies, it's the environment we've dropped them into.
Let's just make this crystal clear. Think of it as a tale of two worlds. Our ancient environment, it demanded physical effort. You had to walk on varied, uneven terrain. Food was often scarce, and your social role, especially as you got older, was complex and absolutely vital. Now, look at our modern world. It is designed for physical ease. We have a crazy abundance of calories 24/7, and our social roles can become, well, a lot simpler. You can see the disconnect, right? It's huge.
So if the problem is a mismatch, the solution isn't about fighting your own biology. It's about restoring what's missing. See, your body is constantly listening for three critical maintenance signals. These aren't just trendy life hacks. They are fundamental biological cues that our modern world has accidentally turned off.
And here they are, the three signals your body is basically begging to receive. Number 1, mechanical loading. Number 2, purposeful engagement. And number 3, metabolic rhythm. Let's break down exactly what each of these means and, more importantly, how you can turn them back on.
First up, mechanical loading. This is so important. We tend to think of our skeleton as this inert, static frame, kind of like the studs in a house. But it's not. Your bone is living tissue. It's constantly breaking itself down and rebuilding itself. And what's the signal that tells it to rebuild stronger? Physical demand. It is the definition of a use it or lose it system.
So, how do we send this signal? Honestly, it's way simpler than you might think. This isn't about some hardcore hours-a-day gym routine. It's about reintroducing small, consistent demands. Walking on a trail instead of a perfectly flat sidewalk. Carrying your groceries instead of pushing a cart. Spending a little time on the floor and getting back up. Choosing the stairs. These little acts of effort are powerful biological messages that tell your body, hey, I'm still needed here. Stay strong.
All right, let's move on to signal number 2. And this one's for your brain, purposeful social engagement. This ties directly back to that grandmother hypothesis. Our brains didn't evolve to age well by just doing crossword puzzles alone in a room. They evolved to stay sharp by being used in complex, social, and meaningful ways, by being essential to other people.
And this comparison makes a really important point. Passive stuff like puzzles or watching documentaries is fine, but it doesn't provide that rich, evolutionarily consistent signal our brains are really listening for. The really powerful stuff, it's purposeful, it's social engagement, mentoring someone, teaching a skill, organizing a community project, taking on an advisory role. These things involve complexity, social navigation, and real consequences. That is the fuel that keeps the aging brain firing on all cylinders. And finally, signal number 3, metabolic rhythm. Now this one might be the most counterintuitive for us today. For nearly all of human history, we cycled between times of having plenty to eat and times of having less. Our bodies actually evolved to thrive on that rhythm. Constant 24/7 access to high-calorie food, that sends a signal of perpetual surplus which, believe it or not, can actually accelerate aging. It's the cycle between abundance and just having enough that really flips on our deep, built-in longevity pathways.
This quote just ties it all together so perfectly. We tend to frame things like bone loss or cognitive decline as diseases that need to be treated with a pill. But when you look at it from an evolutionary perspective, they're often just the logical outcomes of a mismatch. It's a body that just isn't getting the right signals from its environment.
So, where does all this leave us? The final and maybe the most powerful idea is this. Restoring these signals isn't about willpower. It's not about grueling discipline. It's about something much smarter and way more sustainable: environmental design. It's about shaping your world so that it does the heavy lifting for you.
Let's look at what this actually looks like in real life. Imagine a retired engineer who walks to a local school to teach math a couple times a week. He's getting mechanical loading from the walk and purposeful engagement from teaching. Or think about someone who maintains a kitchen garden. They're squatting, carrying things, moving on uneven ground, all while connecting socially with neighbors. Notice what's happening here. These aren't health protocols. They are just environments that naturally send all the right signals.
And I love this reframe. When your environment is set up the right way, healthy behaviors don't feel like this constant struggle, this battle of wills. What often feels like a need for more discipline is really just a sign of misalignment between your biology and your surroundings. When you get them in sync, it just feels natural.
So I want to leave you with this question to really think about. Look at your own life, your daily routines. Which of these 3 signals, mechanical loading, purposeful engagement, or metabolic rhythm, is the most absent from your current environment? Because just identifying that weakest link and making one small tweak to your environment, that's where this whole powerful journey truly begins.